up, everybody? It is Life's Apprentice. Today I'm making a video, and I made a video similar to this, but we're going to talk about how much money you are actually making on one dumpster. Okay, this is going to vary from business to business and town to town, city to city, state to state, but this is going to give you a good idea, blueprint of what you should be expecting and what you should be aiming for when it comes to one individual dumpster. I'm going to be using just general costs and numbers for this for the simplicity of math. These are very close to what we pay in overhead for each dumpster. The difference between us and what I see with other YouTubers and other people in the area is our cost per dumpster is a little bit higher than a lot of other guys. Now we've raised our prices on our dumpsters almost $100 in the last 18 months per dumpster, doesn't matter the size. And the reason for that is our overhead is going to be a little bit higher than most small dumpster startups. And this is something that has to be done. Every business has to do it. There's a reason why the big guys are generally the most expensive. They have the most overhead, and they need to maintain profitability. So it's very important to adjust your price and keep your price competitive, but you also don't want to cut yourself short, and you need to be able to make a profit. So we are talking about a 15-yard dumpster. I think it's the most relatable, and just about everybody in the dumpster world, small dumpster startups and our business and most businesses have 15-yard dumpsters. So we're not going to talk about 10-yard, we're not going to talk about 30 and 40-yard, because 15-yard is right in the middle, and I think the most people can relate with a 15-yard dumpster. So we're going to do this with two different costs. A 15-yard dumpster at $300, that's your base rate, and a 15-yard dumpster at $350. We've since made our 15-yard dumpsters $400, so if you're interested in that cost, that would be what we charge, base charge for a 15-yard dumpster. It starts at $400. Now, let's talk about our overhead. This is going to vary, and for us, our overhead per dumpster, not including labor and dump fees, is about $50 per dumpster. Now this is going to go up or down based on your scale and the amount of overhead that you have. The biggest thing for us and why our overhead is only $50 per dumpster is because of scale. Last year, for instance, we sold over 705 dumpster rentals. If we only sold 350 dumpster rentals, our overhead would have been almost double the $50. Now, for you guys, smaller guys, and you're only doing maybe 100 dumpsters a year or something like that, $50 may be a little low, maybe a little high. That's something that you're going to have to figure out yourself. I'll link. I did an overhead video about the entire business, not just one dumpster. I'll link that at the end of the video. If you haven't seen it, check that out, and that kind of goes into the overhead cost just a little bit more. The next thing is going to be 2 tons. Most dumpster rental companies, even if you're charging for extra weight, I'm assuming you're going to have your base price up to 2 tons. Now, for the sake of math, we did $50 a ton. We are paying about $52 a ton, so we're paying just slightly higher than that. And depending on your area and your dump, you're going to pay more or less than that. So that's going to equal $100. We're assuming it's going to be 2 tons, and our average across the dumpster business is about 1.5 tons. That's my numbers. So we are slightly less than that on average, but we're figuring 2 tons because if you were including 2 tons, that's what you would be including. The next is going to be labor. We're figuring for each dumpster, 4 hours at $25 an hour equals $100. Now you can adjust that $25 an hour higher or lower, or do whatever you want. But 4 hours, assuming you have one 15-yard dumpster, right? And you get a phone call and a customer wants it. You have to drive to the customer's house or to your yard to get the dumpster, then to the customer's house, then back, right? Then, when the customer is done with it, you have to drive back to the customer's house, pick up that dumpster, take that dumpster to the dump, and then take the dumpster from the dump back to your yard. So we're figuring 4 hours. That's another $100. Now, the big thing with scale, and ideally how you can cut down on these costs and become more profitable, is if you're able to, say, pick up a dumpster from another customer's house, take it to the dump, take it to this customer, then this customer is done, and you pick it up from there, take it to the dump, and take it to the next customer, you're going to be saving, potentially you'll be cutting your time down on each dumpster quite a bit if you can kind of multitask or combine trips. The other way that you can do that is when you drop this one off, you have another one nearby that you need to pick up and take to the dump. You can cut off a lot of time and cost on that dumpster based on, I guess, scale, or sometimes it's just luck. Sometimes it just doesn't work that way. Even with scale, you're picking up one way south and the next one that needs to get dropped off is way north, and you really don't save any time that way. So we're figuring $50 for overhead. We're figuring $100 for 2 tons and $100 for labor. Now, if you're selling that 15 yard at $300, your profit is $50 because your costs were $250. If you're selling that at $350, your profit with cost after cost is $100. Now that's your net profit to the business before taxes and things like that. My aim in my dumpster business is to net 30% pre-tax to my business. Now, if you're an owner-operator, you still have to think about this as a business. And the reason for that is you cannot just take all of the profit from your business. Some of it needs to be saved in case something happens. Some of it needs to be invested into new equipment. And some of the money, at the end of the year, if you have a lump sum of money left over and you feel comfortable, that's when you pay yourself that extra money. But even as an owner operator, you need to pay yourself like a base rate, X amount per hour or X amount per week based on a salary that you know that your business can afford. The business is first, not you. Okay? A lot of people get this backwards. The business is first, not you. Because without that business, you might as well go get a job, right? So the business comes first. The business has to survive in order for you to still work within your business. If you're taking all of the money out of your business every single time you have a dumpster, eventually something bad's going to happen and you're not going to be able to afford that. Now, if you are taking all of the money out and putting it into your personal name or your personal account, just make sure you're not blowing it. Keep yourself a relief fund and make sure that you can take care of that business when the business falls on hard times or slows down, or maybe something happens to you. That's what those extra funds need to be used for. Now, this is another big one, and we're seeing this a lot in the smaller side of the dumpster business. Just because you own your equipment doesn't mean it doesn't cost you anything, okay? There's a cost to replace stuff. So if you bought, say, you started a dumpster business and you already owned a truck cash, and then you went and bought a dump trailer cash, that doesn't mean that that doesn't cost your business any money, because there's a cost to replace that stuff. So you have to be putting money away. Say you have a $10,000 truck and it's paid for in cash, and you're robbing the business of that extra profit because you own the truck. What are you going to do when that truck needs to be replaced, right? So if you have a $10,000 truck, and there's nothing wrong with that, and you paid for it in cash, again, nothing wrong with that, there is still a cost to that truck, to your business. So you need to make sure that you're paying, say, if you figure that truck's going to last you 3 years, and it's a $10,000 truck, $3,333 every year needs to be put into a truck fund for when you need to replace that. so that you have that $10,000 when that truck goes, and it will eventually, and you're going to need that money put away. Same with the dump trailer. You need to save money, assuming that that dump trailer just explodes, catches on fire, who knows. You need to still be charging the customer for that truck and for that trailer. Just because you own it in cash does not mean you don't pass that cost along to the customer. And where I'm going with this is there's a lot of new guys out there undercutting the crap out of the rest of us. Now, I understand why they do it, and it makes complete sense, and I think some of it is a lack of understanding. But the biggest thing that you need to understand is when you do that, you're leaving money on the table. So say you are doing things completely illegitimately, no insurance, no DOT, you're illegally dumping and everything like that, and you're charging $200 for a 15-yard dumpster. That's fine. Okay, go ahead and do it. You're not going to last by doing that. But nobody else is doing that, so you're competing against yourself, right? So even if you are doing things illegitimately, you need to try to keep your prices close to the competition, and you can actually profit more money without undercutting everybody. Now, I'm not condoning that anybody do this, but there are people out there doing that, and I want to get it through their head that they're wrong. And people will pay more. They have been for eons. People will pay more for a legitimate business, and you can charge more for a legitimate business. All of these things said, you're still leaving money on the table, and you're wrong for doing it in many ways. But I want you guys to understand that because you maybe don't have any overhead, you don't have a truck payment, you don't have dumpster payments or whatever, doesn't mean that that doesn't cost you money, and it doesn't mean that you can charge less because of that. If you think that, then you're lying to yourself and you're leaving money on the table. Having ownership of your equipment should make you more profitable. It should not make you charge less. You should be charging the same as everyone else. You should just be more profitable because you have less overhead, because you own the equipment. But at the same time, that equipment will break and it will need to be replaced. So you need to be taking that extra profit that you're making compared to somebody who has a truck loan and putting that aside, and trying to make yourself a little bit more legitimate and making sure that you're prepared when something breaks. Now, even in my area, we are slowly creeping up our prices and trying to stay with the competition. We do not want to be the low guy. We are one of the cheapest in our area, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But we want to maintain profitability, be able to afford to grow, be able to provide good jobs to people, and create a business that's going to last longer than myself and become something that's bigger than just myself. And I hope that you guys out there are doing the same thing. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything like that, make sure you leave them down in the comment section down below. I hope this was valuable and you guys could take something away from this video. I appreciate you for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you on the next one.